Introduction. The strength in silence. In the modern world, we are under constant pressure to speak, to express ourselves, and to have an opinion on everything. Social media platforms have made it almost a necessity to share every moment and every thought. Yet the greatest leaders, most influential thinkers, and successful strategists in history have often been among those who spoke the least. Silence is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it is a reflection of deep power, control, and strategic intelligence. The world truly fears those who say nothing, because silence brings uncertainty, unpredictability, and therefore power. This video will explore how silence is not just a lack of communication, but also an art, a philosophy, and most importantly, a power tool masterfully used in both Stoic wisdom and dark psychology. Are you ready to rediscover this ancient power lost in the noise of speech? Chapter 1. Stoic Silence, the Path to Controlling the Mind. Stoicism is an ancient philosophy that has offered humanity inner peace and wisdom for thousands of years. For Stoics, silence is a fundamental tool for calming the mind and building the inner fortress against the chaos of the outside world. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the Roman emperor, constantly advised observing one's own thoughts and avoiding unnecessary talk in his journal, Meditations. He emphasized focusing on his inner world instead of reacting to external events and spending energy only on things he could control. Epictetus, who began his life as a slave, taught that freedom lies not in external conditions but in mental attitude. For him, what we think and value is more important than what we say. Epictetus adopted the principle, think before you speak, do not speak without thinking. This means not only avoiding unnecessary words, but also that every word should have a purpose and weight. Stoics advise staying away from gossip, idle talk, and judging others, because such talk clouds our own minds and damages our relationships with others. Silence is a form of meditation for Stoics. It purifies the mind, clarifies thoughts, and allows the person to return to their essence. In this way, the person can make more conscious decisions and not let external events drag them along. This philosophical dimension of silence is not just a state of passivity, but an active practice of inner work and self-discipline. It allows the person to observe their own emotions and reactions, understand them, and ultimately control them. Stoic silence is a kind of mental fast. By staying away from unnecessary information and noise, it aims to reach inner wisdom and peace. In this way, the person becomes more resilient to the manipulations of the outside world and can live a life in accordance with their own values. This also means avoiding overimportance to what others think or say. The Stoic sage trusts their own inner compass and acts independently of the search for external approval. This independence is one of the greatest powers brought by silence. Stoics believed that external noise and the constant search for approval caused a person to lose their own inner compass. Therefore, they saw silence as a kind of mental detox. In today's world, the noise created by social media and the constant flow of information makes it difficult for the individual to hear their own thoughts, question their own values, and draw their own path. Stoic silence allows the person to distance themselves from this noise, access their own inner wisdom, and make independent decisions from external influences. This is not just an individual virtue, but also a form of resistance against social pressures. A Stoic prefers to listen to the voice of their own reason and conscience instead of following the crowd. This makes them rare but deeply respected figures in society. This deep philosophical dimension of silence requires the person to question not only what they say, but also when and why they say it. Every word should have a purpose, every conversation should add value, and every silence should carry a meaning. Stoic silence is not an empty wait, but an active process of thinking, observing, and inner growth. This process allows the person to recognize their own weaknesses, discover their strengths, and ultimately become a wiser being. This is the basis for maintaining a calmer and more balanced stance against events in the outside world. A Stoic can take refuge in their inner harbor even in the middle of the storm and display an unshakable stance with the power of silence. This is not just a philosophy, but also a way of life, a path that allows the person to be the master of their own destiny. This power of silence allows the person to explore their own inner world and reach a freedom beyond external conditions. This also means avoiding overimportance to what others think or say. The Stoic sage trusts their own inner compass and acts independently of the search for external approval. This independence is one of the greatest powers brought by silence. Chapter 2: Dark Psychology and Silence, a Strategic Weapon. In contrast to the Stoic search for inner peace and self-control, dark psychology aims to understand human behaviors and motivations, but to use this information to influence, manipulate, or gain an advantage over others. In this context, silence ceases to be a passive virtue and turns into a strategic weapon. In dark psychology, silence is not just avoiding speech, but also a tool consciously used to create uncertainty, anxiety, and even panic in the mind of the other party. The power of uncertainty. The human mind has a natural dislike for uncertainty. Faced with the unknown, the mind tries to fill the gaps and usually imagines the worst-case scenarios. Strategic silence takes advantage of this human nature. In a negotiation, a discussion, or a moment of conflict, staying silent against the expectation of the other party disturbs them. When you do not speak, the other party does not know what you are thinking, what you are feeling, or what your next step will be. This uncertainty can lead them to start a dialogue within themselves, question their own arguments, and even convince themselves. Your silence causes the other party to bring their own weaknesses and fears to the surface. They hear the echo of their own anxieties in your silence. The effect of non-reaction. One of the basic principles of dark psychology is to manipulate the emotional reactions of others. When a person tries to provoke, anger, or upset you, they wait for your reaction. This reaction gives them power and shows that their manipulation is working. However, when you give no reaction, their efforts are in vain. Your silence neutralizes their manipulation attempts. This is not just a defense mechanism, but also a form of attack. Because your non-reaction causes the other party to lose control and lose their own emotional balance. When they see that they cannot create an effect on you, they feel powerless and ineffective. This situation can lead them to panic or reconsider their strategies. Especially in high-tension situations, your silence brings the other party's own inner conflicts and insecurities to the surface. They see a reflection of their own weaknesses in your silence. This is not just a tactic, but also a kind of psychological pressure. The other party wonders what kind of power or information lies behind your silence, and this curiosity makes them more vulnerable. Your silence acts as a mirror, allowing the other party to see their own inner fears and anxieties. This can lead them to manipulate themselves and creates an advantage for you. Therefore, in dark psychology, silence is not just a state of non-reaction, but also an active tool of psychological intervention. This creates a gap in the other party's mind and causes them to fill this gap with their own fears. This offers an opportunity for you to turn the situation in your favor. This power of silence can provide you with a distinct superiority, especially in situations where power dynamics are important. This is not just a tactic, but also an art form. When used at the right time and in the right place, it can create an effect that words could never achieve. Building mystery and authority. People who speak little are usually found to be more mysterious and therefore more interesting. While someone who constantly speaks has a tendency to reveal everything, it is assumed that someone who stays silent has deep thoughts or keeps important secrets. This mystery adds a layer of authority and respectability to the person. Leaders often stay silent for a long time before making important decisions, evaluate the situation, and speak only when they are sure. This creates the impression that their decisions are more weighted and thought out. Silence is also a kind of power play. The quietest person in a room is usually the most observed and most curious. This causes their words to be listened to more carefully and create more effect. In dark psychology, this mystery and authority are used consciously to influence others and direct them in line with one's own interests. Your silence creates a gap about you, and people try to fill this gap with their own assumptions. These assumptions usually work in your favor and provide you with an advantage. This also causes more talk and curiosity about you. This allows you to be perceived as a kind of legend or mysterious figure. This is a very effective strategy, especially when creating the image of a brand or a person. Silence creates a kind of attraction field and draws people towards you. This is not just a tactic, but also an art form. When used at the right time and in the right place, it can create an effect that words could never achieve. The limits and risks of silence. While the strategic use of silence in dark psychology is effective, it has its limits and risks. Excessive silence can lead to misunderstandings, distrust, and even hostility, especially in close relationships or situations requiring cooperation. Silence can build a wall and completely cut off communication. Therefore, it is necessary to be careful about when and how to use silence. Strategic silence does not always have to be used for manipulation. Sometimes it can also be used just to observe a situation, think, and wait for the right time. The important thing is to understand the intention behind the silence and the effect it will create. In dark psychology, while this tool is used consciously and calculatedly, in Stoicism it is seen more as a tool of inner discipline and self-awareness. In both cases, silence has the potential to create a powerful effect when used correctly. Chapter 3: Social Dynamics. The social effects of silence. The power of silence goes beyond individual psychology and creates deep effects on social dynamics. From business life to personal relationships, and even to broad social movements, the strategic use of silence can change perceptions and results. Silence in business. Authority and strategy. In the business world, especially in meetings or negotiations, it is observed that the person who speaks the least is usually in the strongest position. The person who constantly speaks and jumps on every idea can be perceived as seeking approval or in insecurity rather than holding control. In contrast, a manager or leader who stays strategically silent waits for everyone else in the room to speak and put forward their ideas. This silence not only gives them the opportunity to analyze the situation better, but also adds an air of authority and wisdom. Their decisions are perceived as the product of a long evaluation process, and this reinforces their leadership qualities. A silent employee is usually perceived as more careful, more observant, and more thoughtful. This leads to their words being found more valuable and listened to. A short silence given at a critical point in a presentation or a discussion gathers the attention of the listener and emphasizes the importance of what will be said. This increases the power of communication and ensures that the message is conveyed more effectively. Silence in personal relationships. Understanding and boundaries. In personal relationships, silence can be both a tool of understanding and a way to set healthy boundaries. Constant speaking can prevent the partner or friend from expressing themselves. Sometimes just listening makes the other person feel valued and understood. This kind of silence strengthens empathy and deep connection. However, in the context of dark psychology, silence in relationships can also be used as a power play. Staying silent against the partner's expectation during a discussion can disturb them, make them feel guilty, or cause them to question their own behavior. This can be a manipulative tactic and damage the health of the relationship. The important thing is the intention behind the silence. While silence in healthy relationships is used to think, listen, and open the space to the other party, it can be used to provide control or punish in manipulative relationships. Knowing when and how to use silence is vital to maintain balance and respect in personal relationships. Silence in conflict and negotiations. Gaining advantage. In conflict situations or negotiations, silence has the potential to apply psychological pressure to the other party and gain an advantage. In a negotiation, giving a long silence after listening to the other party's offer pushes them to question whether their own offer is good enough. This silence can lead the other party to give more information, give more concessions, or weaken their own positions. Silence is also a kind of bluff tool. The other party may assume a kind of dissatisfaction or a strong counter-argument in your silence, and this can lead them to step back. However, This strategy also has its risks. Excessive silence can cause the other party to terminate the negotiation or completely cut off communication. Therefore, the duration and context of the silence are of critical importance for the success of the negotiation. Strategic silence, when used correctly, can be one of the strongest trumps on a negotiation table. Silence in social movements, protest and resistance. In social movements and protests, silence can be a powerful form of resistance and expression. A silence that is sometimes more effective than 1,000 words can symbolize a stance against injustice, an objection, or a mourning. For example, a group of people sitting silently or advancing without chanting slogans in a march can create a deeper effect on public opinion. This kind of silence disturbs the authority because they do not know what they will encounter. While a noisy protest can be suppressed, the power of a silent resistance comes from its uncertainty and unpredictability. Silence also shows the unity and determination of a community. Staying silent for a common purpose emphasizes the collective power of individuals and gives a strong message to the outside world. This is an example where silence ceases to be just an individual tool and becomes a tool of social change. Chapter 4. Practical Guide: Integrating Silent Power into Your Life. We have understood how silence can be a powerful tool in both Stoic wisdom and dark psychology. Now let's offer a practical guide on how you can integrate this information into your daily life. Using silent power is not being passive, but making a conscious and strategic choice. 1. Observe and listen, do not speak. Most people are busy thinking about what to say during a conversation, not truly listening to the other party. The first step of silent power is to be an active listener and a keen observer. In your next conversation, suppress your urge to speak and just listen. Observe the other party's words, body language, tone of voice, and even what they don't say. This will not only provide you with more information but also cause the other party to perceive you as a more understanding and wise person. People trust those who listen to and understand them more. In this way, when you start speaking, the weight of your words will increase. Active listening not only collects information but also shows that you respect the other party and value their ideas. This is the basis of building trust and deeper connections in relationships. In business life, when you wait for everyone to speak in a meeting and you speak last, what you say usually attracts more attention and is found more effective. Because others think that you have evaluated all perspectives and do not make hasty decisions. This adds a leadership quality to you and creates the perception that your decisions are more solid. In personal relationships, truly listening to your partner or friend makes them feel understood, and this increases the quality of the relationship. Your silence offers them a safe space to express themselves, and this leads them to open up to you more. This is not just a listening skill, but also a show of empathy and one of the most human aspects of silent power. 2. Avoid instant reactions, especially in stressful or provocative situations. Giving instant reactions is a part of human nature. However, these reactions usually result in regret. As the Stoics taught, there is a small gap between a stimulus and a reaction, and in this gap lies our freedom. The next time you get angry, are criticized, or feel you are being treated unfairly, instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath and stay silent for a few seconds. This short silence will reduce the intensity of your emotional reaction and ensure you give a more rational response. This practice will both protect your inner peace and leave a more controlled and powerful impression on others. Your non-reaction neutralizes the manipulation attempts of the other party and causes them to question their own strategies. This is especially vital when dealing with toxic relationships or manipulative personalities. When a person tries to provoke you emotionally, your staying calm and non-reactive breaks their game. This situation causes the manipulator to see that their own strategy is not working and leads to frustration. Your not losing control is a show of power against them. This not only protects you, but also increases the other party's respect for you, because they understand that you are not easily manipulated. This practice also helps you develop your own emotional intelligence and stay cooler in the face of stressful situations. Avoiding instant reactions offers you the opportunity to evaluate the situation more objectively and give the most appropriate response. This is not just a defense mechanism, but also a personal development tool. 3. Create strategic silence moments. In a negotiation, a discussion, or an important conversation, consciously create silence moments. When the other party presents an offer or puts forward an argument, instead of responding immediately, stay silent for a short time. This silence can lead the other party to reconsider their own offer or argument, even to give more information. This saves you time to think and formulate the best response. At the same time, it shows the other party that you are not hasty, that you evaluate the situation carefully, and therefore that you are in a stronger position. Your silence creates an uncertainty in their minds, and this uncertainty can work in your favor. In a negotiation, giving a long silence after listening to the other party's offer pushes them to question whether their own offer is good enough. This silence can lead the other party to give more information, give more concessions, or weaken their own positions. This strategy is very effective, especially in areas like sales and bargaining. The other party wonders what kind of power or information lies behind your silence, and this curiosity makes them more vulnerable. This creates an advantage for you and can turn the course of the negotiation in your favor. This strategic use of silence is not just a tactic, but also an art form. When used at the right time and in the right place, it can create an effect that words could never achieve. 4. Create a mysterious air. Resist the urge to explain everything immediately. You don't have to share every detail about yourself, your plans, or your thoughts. Speaking little and keeping some things to yourself creates a veil of mystery around you. This mystery makes people more curious about you and causes them to think more about you. In business life, not giving too much detail about your private life helps you draw a professional image. In relationships, instead of explaining everything immediately, opening yourself up slowly can increase the excitement and depth of the relationship. Remember, people usually value things they cannot fully understand more. Your mystery increases your value. People who speak little are usually perceived as deeper, more thoughtful, and more knowledgeable. This causes their words to be listened to more carefully and carry more weight. A leader's or an expert's silence creates the impression that their decisions are more solid and thought out. This is not just a perception management, but also a show of power, because silence shows the person's confidence in their own inner world and their independence from the search for external approval. This increases the respect others have for you and reduces their influence over you. In dark psychology, this mystery and authority are used consciously to influence others and direct them in line with one's own interests. Your silence creates a gap about you, and people try to fill this gap with their own assumptions. These assumptions usually work in your favor and provide you with an advantage. This also causes more talk and curiosity about you. This allows you to be perceived as a kind of legend or mysterious figure. This is a very effective strategy, especially when creating the image of a brand or a person. Silence creates a kind of attraction field and draws people towards you. This is not just a tactic, but also an art form. When used at the right time and in the right place, it can create an effect that words could never achieve. 5. Practice meditation and mindfulness. It is very important to practice regular meditation and mindfulness to internalize silent power. Meditation helps you calm your mind, observe your thoughts, and reduce inner noise. This is directly connected to the Stoic principle of building the inner fortress. Sitting silently for just 10 to 15 minutes a day, focusing on your breath, and observing the thoughts passing through your mind without judging them will allow you to feel the power of silence more deeply. These practices ensure you are more resilient to external events, manage your emotional reactions better, and generally live a more conscious life. Silence is not just an external behavior, but also an inner state, and meditation is one of the most effective ways to develop this inner state. Conclusion: the transformative power of silence. Silence is a transformative power that is often overlooked in the noise of the modern world, but plays a central role in both the depths of Stoic philosophy and the strategic applications of dark psychology. Throughout this video, we have discovered that silence is not just avoiding speech, but also an inner discipline, a strategic tool, and a powerful factor influencing social dynamics. For Stoics, silence was a way to calm the mind, find inner peace, and develop resilience to external events. Thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus taught that real freedom could be reached by avoiding unnecessary talk and focusing on one's own inner world. This is an active self-discipline practice that allows the person to live a life in accordance with their own values. In dark psychology, silence is used to create a strategic effect on others by creating uncertainty, staying non-reactive, and creating a mysterious air. This can be applied in a wide range from gaining an advantage in a negotiation to neutralizing manipulation attempts. This aspect of silence functions as a tool to seize external power and control. In business life, personal relationships, and conflict management, the correct use of silence can reinforce authority, deepen understanding, and provide strategic advantages. However, excessive silence or use with wrong intentions can lead to misunderstandings and negative results. Therefore, knowing when and how to use silence is the key to masterfully using this power. In today's constantly connected and information-bombarded world, we should see silence not as a luxury, but as a necessity. Integrating silence into our lives not only allows us to become more effective communicators and strategists, but also helps us become more conscious, peaceful, and powerful individuals. Remember, the strongest whispers are usually heard in the quietest moments, and the world truly fears those who say nothing, because their silence is a sign of deep power and unpredictability. Thank you for watching this video. Share with us in the comments how you integrate the power of silence into your life. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss such deep dive analyses. See you in the next video.